Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dominique Davis, also known as Brown and Bendy, and here on this channel we practice flexibility of the mind, the body, and the spirit. If you would like to become a reality bender and join the Bendy Bunch, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get notified when I make new videos. This is my third time trying to film this video, and every time I filmed it, it was so long. So I'm going to try to cut out a lot of the stuff that I said before, and you guys, we might just have to make this a series. Bendy Babes, are we for a feminine energy series? Let me know down below and I will bring you more content like this. But let's get into what I wanted to actually bring you today. To me, feminine energy is, very simply put, the energy of creation and the energy of emotional intuitiveness. When you consider your soul, you are looking at yourself internally. So when you look at how much feminine energy a person holds and how much masculine energy a person holds, that's going to be dependent on their soul. And you can define what energy makes you feel more comfortable by becoming aware of the thoughts that you like holding and becoming aware of the ways that you like to spend your time. There is no right or wrong way to either of these things. There's no right way to think. There's no right way to spend your time. It's all dependent on what makes you happy and what makes you feel closest to source. There's no way that you're supposed to be. There's no cinder block that all of the qualities of the perfect you are put inside of. There's no limit to who you're supposed to be. You decide. No one else. So that being said, when you start to understand that, then you give yourself permission to truly think the way you want to think and live the way you want to live. And within thinking the way you want to think, within living the way you want to live, you can understand whether you are more prone to feminine energy or masculine energy. These two things have nothing to do with gender. Okay, so if you're born a woman, that doesn't mean that you're supposed to be 75% feminine energy, 25% masculine energy, and vice versa if you're a man. That's not what we are talking about. So when we start talking about gender, then it's important to understand that gender roles can be very limiting and they can make people limit themselves. I think that Leora Alexander, she gave a great example of this. She said that a woman in office can have masculine energy and be just as good of a leader as a man in office. Now, this is not me saying, and I don't think this is her saying either, that you have to have masculine energy to be good in office. But talking about American politics, to be in American politics, you do have to have a certain level of assertion, a certain level of confidence, a certain level of forcefulness that you're able to exert on a daily basis. So if a woman if a woman is more prone to masculine energy, she may be able to, on a daily basis, cultivate that forceful, aggressive energy and not be drained by it. And that is something that we more often give to men, and we just say, well, all men are like that. Men are just assertive and aggressive because they're just able to do it. And that's not really true. It's just the energy that the person holds. There could be a man who comes off as aggressive and assertive every single day, but in reality, it's a defense mechanism because he doesn't want to be seen as weak. And he would actually be more comfortable being a little bit more passive and a little bit more open. So it's about the energy that the individual holds and the energy that makes the individual feel closest to their soul and closest to source. So the energy of creation, how beautiful. When a woman gets pregnant, she spends 9 months creating a baby in the oven, right? So this is so symbolic of the actual manifestation process. When a woman's making a baby, she's not thinking about, well, this minute my womb has to do this and I have to do this to make the baby's eyeball. Like, that's not how women make children. When a woman is pregnant, it's all the universe and it's all the intelligence of her body. It's not the intelligence of the mind. And I think that that's so important to know, because it helps you understand manifesting on a different level. When we become pregnant with an idea, we can start to feel the energy of what that idea may be. And we allow that energy from the inspiration of the idea to inspire us to bring this energy into reality. But it's so important to understand that when you're manifesting, it's not I'm gonna make it happen. I need to do this. I need to do that. If I don't do this by this time, my manifestation is not gonna come into fruition. Because such a big part of manifesting is co-creating. Just like when a child is being created, the individual who's creating the child isn't on a daily basis writing a schedule about what part of the body needs to be developed today. They are letting it happen naturally and trusting in a divine faith. And that same divine faith we're supposed to have when we are manifesting. Not trusting your natural intuition, not trusting your ability to create can really, really block your manifesting power. We are all able to manifest whatever we want, but what gets in the way is our mind and our ego telling us how things are supposed to be. Women or people with predominantly feminine energy are receivers. And this is something I've heard a few times in my life, but it's been in relation to sex. And I've heard that women are receivers, men are givers. And well, not necessarily sex, more so relationships. Women are to receive, men are to give. And I don't think it's that superficial. I think that it's more on a spiritual level. I believe that people with more feminine energy, so I'm not saying men and I'm not saying women, so please don't get offended if I say feminine energy is more insightful and you're a man and you're like, I'm insightful. That means that's your feminine energy, you know? People say women are receivers, women need to be protected because women receive, or I'm sorry, people with more feminine energy receive messages that help them elevate their own consciousness and also help them elevate the consciousness of those that they are around. I am going to say women for a lot of this video just because women are primarily the ones with more feminine energy, but there are always exceptions and there are tons of exceptions. But I'm going to say women because I'm confusing myself. So you know how a lot of people say behind every man is a woman, is a great, behind every good man is a great woman or something like that. I think that we can attribute that saying to something that I think a lot of us know. In relationships between men and women, or in relationships between a person with a lot of masculine energy and a person with a lot of feminine energy, oftentimes it's the person with the abundance of feminine energy who is making the big picture plan. And the person with the masculine energy is taking that information and finding a logical way to go about taking the steps to fulfill the information. So all that being said, the woman's role is receiving that connection to source so that she can translate that to her masculine partner. I didn't realize how touchy of a video this was gonna be, but it's okay. We're gonna make it. Even thinking about the imbalance in our relationships as Americans, I can't attest to anything else because I'm American. It's the only society that I have experienced. Leora Alexander actually said something really great about this too. She said that, or either Isabel, they had a podcast and it was really great. But one of them said that men in our society, they don't have to go through any type of initiation to become a man. As far as women, we're put through all these initiations where we finally feel like women after completing a certain task. Men are just born and like they're given the right to be men as boys. So I think, and don't get me wrong, a lot of men don't take the responsibility lightly. You know, we have a lot of kings out here. I'm not saying that we don't, but within our culture, we just don't have anything within our culture that traditionally gives a boy an opportunity to become a man. So I believe because of that, the relationships between masculine energy and feminine energy are very muddy, right? So an example of this would be if you have, we're going to say a man and a woman, and the man has predominantly masculine energy and the woman has predominantly feminine energy. But let's say that both people are working full-time jobs, and the woman is, because they're both working, the woman feels inspired to work harder and harder and harder because that's where she's putting her energy. She sees that she's making money. She sees a result. So eventually, I believe, this is just my opinion, I'm not saying women, I'm saying people with predominantly feminine energy. I do not believe that a person with predominantly feminine energy can continue to work a job that they are not spiritually connected to for an indefinite amount of time. I believe that men can work and not have to have an emotional relationship with what they're doing because it's just good for them and their energy. Men doing a task, being successful at the task and seeing the positive result of that task, that is so good for men. But for women, doing something and seeing that it turned out well, it's like, well, how else would it go? Like, women are just used to, or I'm sorry, people with more predominantly feminine energy are just used to doing things and those things turning out well. So that doesn't necessarily mean that there will be this big reward just because we complete a task. It's very different for the two energies. So if a woman or if a person with predominantly feminine energy is working to the point of burnout, all of a sudden that person doesn't have space for the connection to consciousness that I was talking about earlier. In my opinion, from what I observed in relationships with people with masculine energy and feminine energy, it's often the person with feminine energy who's deciding the big things, the big decisions about the family, as far as where are we going to move? You know, how are we going to raise the kids? X, Y, Z. Of course, it's always a joint decision. But as I mentioned earlier, people with feminine energy often see the bigger picture, and people with masculine energy often see the immediate picture. So if a person with feminine energy is on a day-to-day basis being confronted with the immediate and not given space to see the whole picture, that can cut off their connection with their divine essence. Okay, so I'm not saying that people with a lot of feminine energy shouldn't be working and that they shouldn't be working hard. But I'm saying a person with feminine energy, it's very important. If you're working from sun up to sundown, it's very important that there is an emotional connection with that work. It can't just be anything. It has to be something that feeds that individual's soul. All this to say, if you are struggling with your feminine energy, if you are a man, if you are a woman, if you are struggling with your feminine energy, do you feel like you have enough space within yourself, within your mind, to receive guidance from a higher consciousness? Do you feel like you have the internal space? We're going to make future videos on things that you can do to cultivate more feminine energy, but right now we're just asking ourselves the question, do you feel like you have that space for that connection? And if you have more masculine energy and if you're more comfortable with that masculine energy, you might say, I don't have that much space, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And if you have more feminine energy, but you're very busy and you don't feel like you have the time, you might say, I don't have that space and that makes me uncomfortable. It's very important that we become aware of how we respond to certain questions having to do with masculine and feminine energy. This video is already so long. Oh my goodness. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about, if you are having trouble honing your feminine energy, this is the last thing I want to tell you. You deserve nice things. Right now, I'm just talking to the ladies. I'm sorry, guys, but right now, I'm talking to the ladies. You deserve nice things. Okay? I think that we got it kind of messed up when we talked about men giving women these beautiful gifts, flowers, diamonds, clothes, trips across the world, all these beautiful things. I think as a culture, we perceive that as the man makes a lot of money and that attracts the woman. What I've come to learn is it's actually reversed. The woman is the value and the man is trying to prove that he's worthy of the value. Women create life. Point blank, period. Women create life. You cannot create a life without a woman. And I believe that it takes a very elevated man to truly understand that in his essence. So when you think about nice things, when you think about dressing nicely or doing your makeup or doing things that might be seen as bougie or more fancy, it's important to understand that physical manifestations are physical manifestations. So if something is a physical manifestation of abundance, that's all it is. It's a physical manifestation of abundance. If someone spends a lot of money to get you a beautiful dress, then it's important if you receive that dress and you say, I'm not worthy of this. It's so important. And that's coming from, I just triggered myself because I remember feeling like that. So it's so important when you receive something or when you want something and you feel guilty for wanting it, it's very important that you peep. Because women make life. We create life. There is nothing more valuable than you just being you. Nothing. So it's very important to understand that when you want nice things, not only are you worthy of it, you are entitled to nice things. Okay? And if you don't want nice things, that's okay too. You don't have to want expensive things. You can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. But I'm just talking to the people who feel that imbalance of worthiness when it comes to expensive things. It's very important that you observe that. You know, I was made fun of a lot for my dark skin when I was younger. So when I got older, I didn't feel worthy of nice things. Even being a makeup artist, I would do these beautiful, gorgeous looks on women, and these looks would be very nude. When I was a makeup artist, I loved doing like very nude, classic, beautiful looks. But when I would do makeup on myself, I would do special effects makeup. I would do, a lot of dramatic stuff. I wouldn't do the simple, elegant, and clean look on myself. And now that's the only type of makeup that I like to do. But now I understand that that's because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel capable of just doing a light makeup application. I didn't feel like that was enough for me because I didn't feel beautiful and I didn't feel worthy of beauty. When beauty is what we are as beings. I don't deserve beauty. I am beauty, And I can even say that for some of my friends who have been overweight at one point or overweight in their childhoods. When they got older, a lot of them didn't feel like they were worthy of dressing the way they wanted to or presenting themselves the way they wanted to because they didn't look like women in a magazine or on television. You don't do anything to be worthy of beauty. You are beauty. As a woman, being born a woman, and I'm not saying that you have to be able to have a child. There are women who are not able to have children, and that is heartbreaking. And for some women, it's not heartbreaking. But if you're not able to have a child, you are still able to create. Having the idea for a business that can feed millions of people, having the idea for a television show that can change the lives of millions of people. That's creation. Creation is not just the creation of physical life. I didn't have that part written in my notes, but I just realized it was so important to say because I was talking about having kids. So it's important to know that the creation process is just the creation process, whether we're talking about children or whether we're talking about a manifestation. All of it goes towards raising the consciousness, raising the collective consciousness and making this world a better place and making this world a happier place, which is what we were put here to do from the jump. This video is long enough. I'm going to end it here, but that is our beginner video on feminine energy and why it is important to honor your feminine energy despite your gender and why it is important to understand your feminine energy. So if you want more of this, let me know. Let me know down in the comments and I will bring you more of this information because I love talking about it. And I would say I'm like 90% feminine energy and 10% masculine energy. And it's a struggle for me. So I'm not saying that I have my perfect balance down. I'm not saying that I'm not coming from a place of superiority. I'm just letting you guys know what I've learned through my mistakes on all of that. Okay, I really enjoyed making this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up so other people on YouTube know that it is valuable. If you would like to learn anything else on this subject, let me know down in the comments and I will approach that subject in a future video. Last but not least, please make sure that you are subscribed and that you click the notification bell so that you can be alerted when I make another video. I love you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.